Hello, beautiful people. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I am bringing you two guests, Dayne and Indi. I am so grateful that I have met these beautiful souls who have done the work, done the research, done the experiment, and realized that it would be silly not to share their knowledge with more people. That is why recently they have launched their podcast, which is Living Holistically with Dayne and Indi. So I have brought them on for them to share what you can expect from the podcast. During this interview, we talked more than just about their podcast. We talked about health, we talked about self-awareness, we talked about living consciously, we talked about overall well-being, we talked about the environment, we talked about so many things. Because we had such a wonderful chat, and because they have such great knowledge and wisdom to share with so many people, there will be two parts to this interview. I'm so excited for you to explore and learn that there are other ways that you can live your amazing life. So enjoy!
Well, before we share about your podcast, I would honestly love to thank both of you for your time because I know how long it takes to do the edit. And yeah, congratulations for your new launch, and I'm so happy for you. But before you share about Live Holistically, the podcast, I would love to know how you are both feeling today. Start with you, Indi.
I'm feeling really good. It's been a really nice sunny morning, so that always puts me in a good mood. But yeah, obviously a little bit nervous and apprehensive to do an interview for the first time.
Yeah, and how about you, Dave?
As Indi was saying, the sun's out and that makes us really, active and energized as well. So we got plenty of sun this morning and we're just really excited about to share this side of us that we've been building for a while now and just to share that side of the story. So we're really excited about getting going with that.
Yes, and I'm excited to be the first person to share your podcast. And again, thank you, Indi, for giving me this chance to interview you. This is so exciting. So before we actually talk about the podcast, I would love to know, how did you guys meet?
It's a good story. I mean, it's probably best for Dayne to tell, seeing he was the instigator.
Yeah, instigator, but she was chasing me, obviously. But it's funny enough, it's the meetup that I created, the Biohackers Melbourne meetup. It brought in a lot of people now that are like close friends with me. Stefan and Lucas and Beck and all them we met, and it's also how Indi and I met as well, which is crazy. So I had been doing this meetup for a couple of years. It was originally around my friend and I, Hong. We created this for the bulletproof way of living, and so we were doing the bulletproof coaching training at the time, and we wanted to share this knowledge and information that we were doing through the coach training program. And so we created a meetup for bulletproof living. It was very small to begin with. Only a few people would come along, evolved into the Biohackers Melbourne meetup.
I originally found his group, the Bulletproof group, probably a year before that. And I was just, thinking of going to it, but it was just, it just happened to be that I had stopped working. And so I was really in need of, some socialization and some different people because I wasn't working or studying or, had many friends that were into their health. So that's sort of what prompted me. It was actually, just the perfect timing.
Yes, I was going to say, trust the timing. Is the group still going?
Thinks, well, not now because of lockdown. It's just insane in Victoria here. But before, I guess once I created, I've been doing it for a couple of years, and I naturally sort of gravitated sort of out of it. And Hong and I handed over our organisation sort of to someone else in the group that wanted to take it moving forward. And I'm not sure if it's still going to this day. I think it's maybe still going here and there before the lockdowns happened. But it was once I sort of, got what I needed from, in a sense of the connection, and built a really good friend base and met in India, I sort of evolved sort of out of it. And so, it may be still going, but it'd be very on a sort of casual basis now.
Well, thank you for sharing how you guys met. And now would you like to share what Live Holistically, the podcast, is all about, and how did it all come about?
So we started with the idea to do at first home consults, and that's sort of what, with different holistic, assessments of people's homes and stuff. And obviously when the whole corona thing hit, that very rapidly evolved to more wanting to do group coaching, or, you know, it would be over the internet, sort of like Skype. So we could no longer do that whole thing of home visits. But as things sort of developed, we thought it would be a great idea for people to get to know different people we'd learnt from and different things we'd used and tried, and also to get to know us. That, yeah, a podcast was a really good idea. I know, like, every man and his dog's doing a podcast now. So, you know, funny timing in that. But yeah, I think it just really suited us because it's a way for us to share this information with such a wide audience and not just one-on-one. And, you know, it's free for everyone as well. So we also decided to name it a little bit differently just because of the wording. It's Living Holistically with Dayne and Indi versus, yeah, that's okay, versus like the actual business name, which is Live Holistically. We just wanted to have a bit of a differentiation in the way it's worded as well.
You're right about the podcast, because people can bring you anywhere. They can listen to you while they're gymming, while they're driving. It's like the quickest way to share your knowledge and wisdom. So good job on starting it. What can people expect?
When we first sort of thought of doing a podcast, of course, it's like frightening and scary, and all these things will come up from like putting yourself out there. And we both hate the sounds of our own voices as well, which is great to break through as well. Yeah. I don't think anyone does. No one likes the sound of their own voices, as far as I'm aware, but we don't really like our voices. And so breaking through that eventually you'll be okay with. But when we were creating it, we thought the best way, after sort of back and forth, the best way we wanted to do with the podcast was break it down into seasons and do roughly about 10 episodes for one season, and have each season focusing on an area of holistic health that we want to touch on and we feel it's really important. And because there are so many areas in there, we want to start with sleep in season 1 and focus on about 10 episodes there that have really shaped us into the quality sleep that we have, and we've learned and we've experienced, and we want to share with others. And so we're bringing on the experts and the products and the coaches, all the people that have had a big impact and influence on us in the area of sleep. We're going to try to keep it to 10 episodes and try to keep it to around 30 minutes an episode if we can, so it's digestible for people. And we want to do that moving forward with every other season as well. And so it'll, I guess, naturally evolve over time, but there's so many topics of holistic health. We just couldn't really get our heads around how we can package, I guess, our knowledge into a way that's digestible for other people, because our interests go everywhere in holistic health. Everything from body, mind, and spirit, like ethics and environment, home environment, really, really passionate about. And so I guess what we want to do for the podcast is focus on a season at a time and bring on our knowledge and understanding and others on as well to share that. And so it's pretty much what we want to do for the podcast moving forward. And that will just, I guess, naturally, as podcasts do, evolve over time. And eventually they will bring in once we've built out our coaching services as well.
I love it. And you know what, it's hard to narrow down life into just one topic. There's so many aspects to it. So amazing. I love how you break it down to, seasons. Is that what you said?
Yeah, seasons.
Yeah. Is there a reason why sleep first?
Yeah, I feel it's been a big impact on my life and my beliefs and understanding as Indi as well, and even our coach understanding sleep is such a foundation to build upon, because from there it's if we started with nutrition, it's we just felt sleep is so universal and it's so applicable to everyone, and our tools and knowledge and practices can be implemented by everyone immediately. And so we feel that sleep is one of the most foundational places to start.
I think as well it's a good topic to discuss, because in a sense there isn't so much room for differences between different people. So it's something that's so universal, and most of the advice and tools can be implemented by anyone, no matter what their, individual, chemistry is. So when you're speaking to quite a wide audience and it's not personalized, individualized, it's something that's a really good pillar to have and be able to share that knowledge, because it's able to be implemented by everyone. It doesn't matter what their background is or their own illnesses. Dialing in these things will be applicable to everyone.
I agree. So for those people who are listening and watching who would like to increase their quality of sleep, please go and subscribe to the podcast. The details will be in the description. Now, I would love to know, how would you both define holistic health is?
Holistic health, it's quite a buzzword that's been thrown around a bit too, and it's kind of like the word natural, and it's sometimes overused, and people have different understandings or interpretations of what that is. And for us, our understanding of holistic health is it's a comprehensive, integrated approach to health that encompasses everything of the body, the mind, and the spirit, but everything else in between that and outside of that as well. And so it's not just exclusively to that, but for our understanding of body, mind, and spirit, it's not a simplified version. It's complex, but not complicated. And it's just like there's so many elements inside that. So for body, for instance, would be things of movement, it'd be things of nutrition, things that we can do that we can enhance our body and optimize our body. And then mind would do, I guess mind is in the same realm as, I guess, emotional intelligence and clearing out and like personal development and beliefs and limiting beliefs as well. And then I think spirit is very important too, the understanding like who we are, life and death, and all these, everything in between that as well. That's a very simplified, I guess, explanation of everything that we sort of believe. But yeah, I guess holistic health is those areas, but we also want to go and branch outside of that as well, and go into things of like business ethics and sustainability, environment as well. And so I feel that there's so many layers of that for us, of understanding holistic health, where we see what we've seen out there and what we've experienced out there so far is that people either focus on one area, and so they'll just be focusing on maybe nutrition, and that's just their niche, or go down to a niche. I think our niche is that we don't really have much of a niche. We want to, as it's so broad, it spans over so many different areas that we naturally have experienced in our lives individually and together, and that we personally believe is really important aspects of living, and things that I guess can optimize our beings, and then how that can impact then others around us, friends, family, community, and then how that also impacts environment, government, everything from then onwards as well, the planet, so to speak. And so
would you like to add on anything, Indi?
So the reason that we called it that way is that it's living a life that's completely aligned with your values and your higher self. So our higher self would want to take care of the bodies we've been given, both, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and also take care of other people, because that's ultimately, we're love, and we want to share that and look after each other. That's ultimately what our higher self wants. So we're only human, we don't live that way all the time, but I guess it's finding those practices and being conscious of making an effort to do that, and also for all living things, so all plants and nature as well, because ultimately it does also come back to us. So the way we treat the planet ends up impacting us. A good example of that is all the plastic we use and how it breaks down into tiny little micro particles of plastic, and then the fish eat it, or it gets in when they're swimming around, and then we eat the fish, and we're eating all these little tiny particles of microplastics. And that's then, going back to impact our bodies. And so I think it's also bringing this awareness for people of everything we do and how that impacts a bigger scale, not just ourselves. And I know it can be really hard as well when you try and focus and balance like all your decisions with these different areas. So for example, sometimes, you want to eat the best food available, but it's in this plastic bag or packaging, whereas someone else who's trying to be fully environmentally friendly will go to the bulk store and buy bulk stuff, but they may miss out the element that you know, that food's been sitting there for a while, that might have, it's very common to have mold and mycotoxins that aren't so good for our health. So the way, for example, we would balance that out is learning about how to recycle our soft plastic so that it gets made into something else, but we can still have the highest quality food for our health as well. Sometimes it's really tricky, you know.
Yes.
Sometimes you're kind of torn, like, do I get this? Do I throw this out? But yeah, I mean, ultimately it is just a balance and learning that.
I love it. I want to give you a massive hug so bad, especially when you talk about the higher self. Like, seriously, that was so beautiful. And I'm honestly so excited for you guys. Like, the things that is gonna come from this podcast, I know is gonna be amazing. So seriously, for those who are listening and watching, please go and subscribe. And here is just a reminder though, like everyone has a different definition of what kind of lifestyle that you would like to live in. They are just portraying a type of lifestyle that you could be living at. And yeah, and if you're interested, there you go. There are some helps and knowledge and wisdom that they will be sharing with you. So, you know how before you said it was kind of a challenge to get used to your own voice? So, what are some proud moments that you have encountered since doing the podcast?
I think just recording it and putting it together anyway, even though you don't like the sound, and even though it's so unnatural to record to a screen and, you know, pretend like you're talking to people. Yeah, and just to keep the energy up then as well. Like I've never been someone that's naturally good at public speaking or anything, so yeah, the whole thing just sort of brought up those moments and those fears, even though there's no one there. But I still know that people are going to listen to it. So yeah, and also the perfectionist qualities come for both of us, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Like, just we wanted to make it perfect and wanted to be profound. We wanted to like articulate as best we can everything that we believe and feel, but that's so difficult sometimes, and we get in our head about it, what it sounds like. So we're just proud. We're just really grateful that we committed to, I guess, a day that we worked towards for the goal to get it released in that time, because we know that we would have probably constantly just keep trying to refine it to get it to that perfect level that we felt was okay for us, which would have been, probably never.
We would have never helped anyone.
Yeah. Exactly. We made it about ourselves. We made it about how we sound like, rather than just doing the best we can and letting go of that, and then just putting it out there, and then just improving upon that. So improving upon how we interview and how we speak and all those elements as well. And so we're just really proud that we actually have got something out there now, which is really cool.
Yeah, good job. I'm proud of you guys. And you guys have made room for improvement always. So that's all right. I really love the way that you have said it. Indeed, this is not verbatim, but you said you were really blessed to start changing your lifestyle since young because of what you have experienced. Obviously, it's much better because you are not in your 40s or 50s. So what would be some suggestion that you would give to adolescents?
I think having a look at your actions you're taking socially, and especially around going out and drinking and what you're doing to your body, and see if you can recognize where it's coming from. Like, is it coming from a place of trying to suppress anything or not feel anything? Because that's when it really becomes a problem, because you're doing it to, escape. And all of us do it because we don't know any other tools. But I think now that a lot of information is starting to be shared, that's when, there's not much of an excuse, because it's something we all can explore with ourselves and learn the tools to really take responsibility for. So I know that's, a hard ask at that age. I mean, I look back even just 5 years ago and I was a completely different person, and what I was doing and how I was showing up in my life. So, as hard as it is, but I think when you start to let go of a lot of that stuff, like a lot of that deeper pain and letdowns in your life, that's a really good base to go forward with from the rest of your life. Like, you don't want to be making decisions and acting from a place of that hurt and that trauma. So as soon as you can start to look at that and work through that, like, the better the rest of your life will be, I guess. Also, that thing around taking responsibility, as I said, I thought I was really responsible because I went and, you know, got my kidneys checked up on, or what are the other things, or I went to a psychologist or something because I'm like, oh, I'm not, you know, feeling good, I've got this stuff. But I think taking full responsibility is knowing that you're going to do everything in your power and not just leave it up to someone else or expect there to be a magic pill to fix all your problems. Like, knowing that it will take a lot of work on your part, but it's okay because it gives you much more control and makes you feel much more empowered about your life as well.
Hopefully, we are very powerful beings, just letting everyone know. And I think it is so liberating to know that we have the control. So I would highly recommend people to those other lessons. It's so hard to forgive, I would say, and especially forgive yourselves. And it is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to fail. It is okay if you are comparing yourself with other people. But at the end of the day, like what Indi said, like, you know where it's coming from, because it really will help. And may I please ask how old you are? Both of you.
I'm 25 in a month.
So. Happy birthday.
I'm one of those people that's always like, oh yeah, in 2 months.
Trying to make her sound older. So I'm 31.
What? Sound older?
I think because I've always been around other people who are older, so I've always been like, you know, trying to prove my maturity or something. But
Girlfriend, I think 25 is amazing. So for those who are listening and watching, like, see, it doesn't matter how old you are. It would be better if you started even younger, so that you can honestly live a longer and fuller life. Do you have anything that you would like to say to those other lessons then?
Indi sort of did a really good job of sort of articulating that about the whole letting go of, that was within myself, I guess. Speaking from my personal experience, was that I felt that almost all my greatest lessons and learnings in life was not about what I learned, but about what I let go of. And it wasn't so much like, I may have spent tens of thousands of dollars on studies and tens of thousands of dollars on books and reading and all that as well. And that's all great. But I felt like the deepest lessons that shaped me and shifted me into a higher sense of myself, my being, was about letting go of limiting beliefs or letting go of resentments or judgments as well. And so that whole letting go, surrender thing keeps echoing everything in our lives. And that, we really feel like there's areas where you do the work. You really have to commit yourself and do the work, but it pays off. It really does. It pays off. And so with Indi and I, we've had our own individual journeys, and now we've had our journey together over the last 2 years, or close to 1.5 years now. And so, that's been like, I did all my inner work that I thought I could do, and I hit like my ceiling, so to speak. And then when I met Indi, she was a giant mirror to the stuff that I didn't know I had inside me still. And so that brought up a whole new level of stuff inside me that I like, whether my limiting beliefs, whether my stuff about myself. And that's all relationships really are. They're just mirrors to reflect stuff that you haven't accepted about yourself and haven't worked through as well. And so I thought I was this really evolved and personal developed guy. I was like, oh yeah, I've got all my stuff sorted. I've done all my courses and training, and I've read this and that. And I was very good to live by myself, and I had very good, like, I could take care of myself. But then in a partnership, it just brought things to a whole new level, and learnt more about myself than I have over the last, I guess, 29 years. It was that when I learnt with Indi, is that she just brought up so much stuff within me, and learning what it's like to be, I guess, to care for someone else and have compassion and understanding, and just breaking through and letting go of limiting beliefs as well. So
love it. And that, I would also like to say, letting go of expectations as well, because sometimes you would put expectations on yourself or expectations from your parents, your peer, society, whatever. Like, you guys put it beautifully. Letting go, honestly, is so liberating. Now that since you guys are together and working so beautifully, what would be some tips? Let's say maybe 3 tips for couples out there.
I'll jump in first. Yeah, it's funny because we, just as you're saying, we work so beautifully together. Not always, though. It's what's interesting too is that I like to consider or think, or my ego likes to consider myself as being quite involved, and yet at sometimes the things that we go through and the relationship challenges, I act in ways that I'm not proud of the way I act, and there's inner child probably trauma there that's coming out, and so understanding that element in me as well, and understanding that it isn't just a perfect ride. So what we share with the world through our podcast, through social media, is just a snippet. But I guess as we get more comfortable, we become more vulnerable and share with people that even though we've done so much work individually on ourselves and now together as a couple, it's still so challenging, and there's still times when we act like kids, so to speak. And so it has been a challenge even to this day. And so, but it's rewarding as well. And so I guess that being said, I guess one thing that we find, or I find that's it's so key, is communication. Almost over communication, if that's possible. So it's usually the lack of communication in sharing vulnerably your thoughts and your feelings with each other. Probably from a male perspective as well, I can speak that I know probably guys don't feel comfortable with opening up so much with a female partner as well. And so I know women are probably more naturally better at that. But for men as well to articulate the emotions, everything behind that as well, but just to communicate and keep that communication consistent. I think that's one really good tool practice for people to have in their mind when it comes to relationships, is communicate, if not over communicate. Anything and everything, to share what you need to share. That'd be one, I guess.
Just also like knowing that if you hold on to the resentment, and this is with anyone in your life, it's just like that saying, you're just drinking the poison yourself, and expecting the other person to die. So I think that's what you really have to put aside when you want to be happy. Like, do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? So what works best, as much as we can, is apologizing as soon as possible. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, but just knowing that you want to resolve that, especially when we live together, we work together, we're around each other 24/7. Of course, we're going to get annoyed and stuff at times, or things are going to come up, but it's that like coming back together and sharing what came up and why we felt hurt as soon as possible, and not letting it just go days or something, because that's when, the resentment really starts to fester, and it's not good for anyone. It doesn't feel good. It's not healthy for you. It's not good for the relationship. So that's one of the main things.
I guess the third one I want to jump in there would be, I would say it would be taking like its full responsibility for your own individual actions as well. So if there's something that I did that caused some distress in this, taking ownership for the part that I played in that, and taking responsibility for it, not blaming the other person for that as well. It can happen during the intensity of the moment. I understand we're humans as well, and even us, like during the moment, our inner child can come out and we can blame the other person for everything. And I do that even to this day, and I still work through it. It's a process, but I think at the end of it is just doing the best you can to catch it as quick as you can, acknowledging that within yourself, and then just, again, if it's apologizing or just sharing that acknowledgement and taking full responsibility of the role and the part that you played in it. So the part that I played in that and to cause that, then taking responsibility for that, and what you can do to, I guess, work on that moving forward. So rather than keep repeating this process and being in this space of being like, oh, I'll do it again, 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 I guess apologize, take ownership, know it within yourself, and then what you can put in place to maybe shift that in the future.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And for those who are listening and watching, please just know that every couple goes through that, and you guys will have a season on relationships. So please do stay tuned.
Oh yeah.
So if you need some tips, some more tips, well, go and subscribe to their podcast. I just want to say a few things. So I really like what you said about guys being expressive, should be more expressive. For those who are listening and watching, I want to remind you that it doesn't matter what your physiques are. We all have the masculine and the feminine qualities in us. It's okay if you are a male who is more emotional, or if you are a female who is more dominant. You just need to find that balance and have that equal, I guess, energy within you. And with the communication, we are not each other's brain cells or worms in our head. So if you don't communicate it out, nobody would know what you're thinking. So thank you for saying the communication part is so important. It's not just in relationships. I mean, romantic relationships. It's in all relationships, even at work or with your family or with your child, everything. Like, it's so important to communicate. And the forgiveness thing, thank you so much. That was so beautifully said. You're right. Like, do you want to choose to be happy, or do you want to choose to be right? Like, obviously you want to choose to be happy. And it doesn't matter. I feel like the person who says sorry is a person that really want to cherish and respect the other person. So that was beautiful. Thank you so much for the tips. And for those who are honestly struggling with forgiveness, I would highly recommend you to do forgiveness letters. Just write it down, like write why you feel hurt and etc. Thank you so much. Well, what are some hacks that you would give to everyone to take on so they can boost their quality of life?
Good question.
Yeah. It's so hard to narrow it down into just a few.
Maybe you can do 2 each.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds good.
Would
you like to go first? 200 each, is that right?
We have time.
I think being conscious about where you spend your time and energy. So, for example, if it's a job that, doesn't particularly bring you joy, if it's people that don't particularly, it drains your energy. I think just being very conscious about where you put your time, and also where you're putting your money, like where you're putting your money towards different industries and businesses that you don't necessarily want to support in the long run, because that's just going to bring more of those things, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I think being conscious of all that. So again, you're living in alignment with your higher self. And that goes down to so many more things, of course. But yeah, everything you buy, like your food. So for example, if you care about the environment, if you're wanting to try and do more, say for example a vegan, don't go and buy the fake meat that's made of GMOs and not organically farmed, because again, that's just that's not doing any good for the environment. It's doing the exact opposite. So
but it's not
just
actually good for your health either, by the way.
No. Exactly. So it's not good for you either, and it's not good for the farmers and the communities that use all those chemicals and everything. So that's been probably one of the bigger shifts. And what that does is, over time, it's increasing, your level of happiness and just your, I guess, peace and contentment you feel with every decision you're making in your life. And you make the money, and where that's going towards, is it going towards good businesses or that you want to support? So I think just living in alignment will make you feel so much better with yourself and more at peace. Whereas if you have these ideas of what you want to be like, but you're not really truly living it, I guess, then something's going to feel off. So that would probably be, one of the main things, to start looking at different areas of your life. And just, it's a slow process as well. Like I was thinking today, even though I've had the thought and known about how good organic clothing is, it's been a very slow process then, obviously, to gradually change things over as my older clothes have gotten more worn, and I'm in the need of new clothes. Like there's so many things that are such a gradual process, even toiletries and stuff, like personal care. You want to slowly look at having less toxins, you know, for your skin, for your hormones, for everything in your body. But again, it's a very slow process. And, you know, some of us might then be as well, oh, I don't want to just throw things out. Like I never wanted to waste things, or, you know, just carelessly put things in the bin. So that's another consideration I've had. And it's been very slow process, but eventually, you know, you get there. And it's just, you want to also look at doing things bit by bit as well, and not overwhelming yourself with, oh, I have to get rid of everything and change it all right now. And one, it's, you know, it's probably going to be too much money to do. And two, it's just, it takes quite a bit to research those things. And that's another reason why we want to do what we do with the podcast and our coaching, is because it has taken so much time and energy to find those things and ways of making those transitions. So we'd like to make that a lot easier and less overwhelming for people as well, because most people don't have the time and money to just be experimenting and spending hours researching those things.
I feel like, you know, where I think you brought up two amazing points, which is, you know, live more consciously and know where you're spending your money, because I feel like the way that you spend your money and time and, you know, who you hang around with and etc. is showing your values, like who you are as a person and how you want to represent yourself. So that was beautiful. But like, I will get back to you, Dayne, but how would you encourage people to live more consciously?
I hope you're enjoying the interview so far. What have you learned? I know that you just want to jump straight into part 2, so you can click somewhere on the screen to continue. The podcast details are also in the description below. So if you're like, right now, I just really need to learn how to get quality sleep, go and subscribe to their podcast, because the season 1 of their podcast is about sleep. Now here's a sneak peek. Both Dayne and Indi will come back on again and talk about their personal journeys. Dayne will be talking about sleep and his product, Barkley Eyewear. So watch this space. Now don't forget to subscribe. Click the thumbs up button if you have loved it, and share it with someone, because you never know what they're going through, or maybe they need some quality sleep. And remember, you're amazing and you are not alone. I'll see you next time.